on. That did it. Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, you sound better, Bob, already.
Hey, Mary.
Okay, Bob.
We're going to have to repeat.
Go, Mary.
We have to repeat the meeting now, don't we?
I don't think so.
Thanks,
Shall we
Rodney.
repeat everything?
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
Okay, when this agenda was presented to me, I evaluated the issues, and they were responded to by our business administrator. Because there are the potential of a discussion with respect to positions held here in the town hall, that would be something that would be personnel related and would require, in most instances, a Rice notice. I'm delighted that number 2 has been deleted. It is appropriate for the Township Committee to discuss ongoing policies, but it would not be appropriate to discuss ongoing policies by using specific examples. And by specific examples, I don't mean just the person's name. Because if you were to say a title, only one person in the building holds that title, it would be the same as saying that person's name. And they would have the right to know that in advance and decide whether or not they would like it discussed in executive session. So my advice to you 5 is that if the discussion is policy, in other words, what are we going to do on an ongoing basis with respect to these items, this is an appropriate forum. But it can't cross the line. And crossing the line would not just be by using specific examples, but any detail that would identify a person or a position. So that's my instruction.
Michael, did you have any comments you wanted to make since you prepared this memo?
Or did you want Eileen?
Or did you want Eileen to?
I don't have any memo that Mike prepared.
You didn't get a copy of it?
No, I didn't, but
Didn't it get to the committee
It was
people?
on the, it was emailed.
It was
At
emailed
what
to everybody.
time?
Probably today.
I didn't get it in the morning. I was on the email at noontime.
And it was notified, she was sent that there was a copy of email of an explanation of all of this?
Yes, I was notified, and when I replied that it's not here, I don't have it. I checked the Township email, and I checked my Verizon.net email. I had no report. Now, let's get on to the business at hand, which is, I asked for a definition. When I asked at the last meeting that we not print the policy manual, I felt that there's ambiguous language, and the way average citizens interpret certain words and the way other people interpret it are unfortunately not the same. In using the example on the vacation schedule, it said, at 5 years, 18 days vacation. The question is, what does at 5 years mean? Does it mean after you've completed 4 years of work and you're going to commence month number 49, which is month number 1 of your 5th year? Or does it mean, like it does in most private sector, that at 5 years means you've completed 5 years, which is 60 months, and then you get an increase in your vacation time? So that's the interpretation that's being used here. Here, meaning town hall, is after you complete 4 years, after you complete 9 years. 15 years would be after you complete 14 years. That's not the way it's interpreted by most average people. So I asked for a clarification, and I think that changing the language from at 5 years to something upon completion of 4 years, or something, or a sentence to be added to it to clarify so there is no misunderstanding going forward. I feel that this is an increase in vacation time over what average people would have expected.
Can I ask a question there?
Please.
Your interpretation of what it says, that 5 years become 4 years, is not the way I interpreted it. As I understand it, the January 1st of the year where you have completed your 5 years, the new vacation times apply. So that's not the same as 4 years.
That's not what was told to me. That's why I'm bringing this forward, to have a proper discussion of it. The vacation time, everything is done January. So you get all 15 sick days, you get your personal days, and you get your vacation time allotted onto the book for you to use starting the January 1st date. But if your anniversary date is November, you're still getting it in January. It's not like you got
That's right.
to, it's not like you got to November and completed 4 years, and the following January, 1 month later, you got your 5-year bump. You're getting it in effect after 3 years and 1 month. If your anniversary date is November, and you complete 4 years, and you get it a month later, January 1st, that's one thing. But what is happening is, your 4-year anniversary is being considered the prior January, so you've worked 3 years and 1 month. I think it's too liberal of an interpretation. If we were giving the vacation time increases on a vacation day, on an anniversary date, that would eliminate part of the problem.
Mike, do you want to clarify it? Do you have a mic?
Does Mike have a mic?
Thanks.
Thank you. This is right out of the collective bargaining agreement, I think it's the Teamsters collective bargaining agreement. And if you read the sentence here, all vacation will be available January 1st of each year. That's the policy. It's not really a subject to interpretation. That is it. I mean, so if your anniversary is March, April, or May, your vacation still has to be available January 1st. That's the policy.
So anniversary is November, you're saying give it in January in advance of November.
I'm
No.
saying what the
interpretation
policy
is.
says to do, and what
That's
they've
a
been doing
contract.
that's a contract. This is an ordinance that says that non-union employees are treated the same as the union employees. This is an ordinance, was in '04, '07. It says that including accrued leave, if you look right here, are treated the same as, so there's not subject to interpretation. It's what's there.
So that's the part you highlighted here, that all full-time employees, officers, and non-covered by union contract shall receive the same fringe benefits with respect to health, prescription, eye and dental insurance, accrued leave, personal days, bereavement leave, holidays, training and education, and all other collectively bargained incentives as union employees.
And the reason for it, I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's been going on for, I don't know, at least 10 years, 12 years, at least as far back as anybody here knew, that you're treating everybody the same, number one. It's easier to administer than to try to do one union one way and one another. So right now, everybody is done the same way. So I think it makes a lot of sense. But it's not like we just made this up. It was probably when they adopted this ordinance, they went to the policy, so.
Thank you, Mike.
So we're all on the same page that vacation time is given in advance of the anniversary date, no matter when in the year the anniversary date falls. We're all on the same page, and we all understand that then.
I think the union, as was stated, this has been in the union contract. The
But I
agreement-
wasn't reviewing the union contract when I was looking at this, Rodney. So I was
Yes,
looking at
we're-
ordinances and policy manuals. That's why the extensive documents I turned over to the Township Committee and to Phil Sartorio, I had the policy manual from 2010, 2012, and 2014. I was reviewing only policy manuals. I wasn't questioning the union contracts.
But the ordinance says that we will make it consistent with the union contract. So, I mean, if you're going to review the manual, it seems to me you'd have to look at that also. But the language seemed pretty clear to me. And yes, that would mean that people could start take advantage of the greater vacation time before the specific anniversary date, but they aren't getting away with anything because
I didn't suggest that. I simply asked for an interpretation of the phrase "at 5 years." I didn't suggest anything improper. I asked for a clarification and interpretation because I feel this vacation policy is not what the average citizens would interpret it. And that's why I wanted to get it out in the open, and it's months overdue. for an obvious reason. So now it's out in the open, and we understand exactly what it means, and as far as I'm concerned, we have resolved item 1. However, this ordinance for 2004 just really muddied up the next discussion, because the other exhibit I gave to the Township Committee was ordinance...
So you're on number 3 now? You're satisfied with number 1? Thank you.
Yes. The muddiness that just happened is, when I put this extensive amount of work together, I gave the Township Committee the minutes from the discussion in 2008 with Silvergato, Nichols, Pritchard, and Gaskell, where you went to a 2-tier vacation schedule. And when we got the policy book for this year, tier number 2 is crossed off. And it was explained in just a few sentences. If anybody wants to hear it, it's right on this tape recorder from the April 7th meeting. It's about a 2-minute tape that I taped off the internet. The explanation was Chapter 66, Chapter 80 of our code book was totally erased. Normally, in my understanding of all these years sitting here, is when you adopt a new ordinance, you take the pieces in the old ordinance that are inconsistent with the new, and you blend the new in, deleting the old inconsistent paragraphs. So what was, my understanding was that the 2012 ordinance, which I distributed with the minutes, the 2012 ordinance eliminated Chapter 66, eliminated Chapter 80, and therefore eliminated only Tier 2 of the vacation time. It didn't eliminate anything to do with sick time, didn't eliminate anything with personal days, didn't eliminate anything with the education stipend. Just this one little component, which was of serious long-term discussion in this room on audio, not video, in the summer of 2008. Now you're bringing up a 2004 ordinance, which very clearly, if 2008 was blown out, why isn't 2004 blown out? That's the part that's now confusing me.
Right.
I just don't understand how the Township Committee could spend maybe more than a half an hour to an hour long-term discussion in this room. I was so proud of that Township Committee at that time, because it was the first time there was real long-term discussion of the public's business in front of the public in this room. And the conclusion came down to they would have the 2-tier vacation time that would be to the future. It was adopted, I think, in August of 2008. We do have it in our exhibits. August of 2008, that if you were hired January 1 of 2009, you would only get 5 vacation days the first year instead of a day a month. And then there was other steps to this, and it was less generous than the original guide. That ordinance was a 4-to-1 vote, with Mr. Nichols voting no because he didn't believe there should be any vacation in the first year. So that was the importance. That was people sitting here tonight who voted on it. One person's in the audience of the 5. Nelson Gaskell's not here because he has a conflicting meeting, or he would have come. And I just don't think in this day and age, with what this county is facing over the next 60 to 90 days, with all the pain and suffering of the people losing their jobs, that now is the time we decide, not in a public discussion of all the merits. And I wrote some questions at home before I came on the 2-tier. What's the effective date of going back to the one tier? Is there a retroactive impact? Was it done, what was done to identify the number of new hires from January 2009 forward to now that this new vacation schedule impacts? Was there a cost impact done to show lost production time, the number of days that we're giving out now in vacation time, the number of employees that are affected, and the amount of money that the taxpayers are paying that they get no production for? I'm not saying it's new money. I'm saying there's no production for the paycheck. And that's really what this is about. I think it's just the wrong time to have done this. It wasn't done with a full 5 Township Committee member discussion out here where the witnesses could offer their input if they chose to.
Well, unfortunately, Aileen, you weren't at that meeting at the time. You were celebrating your birthday, where this discussion might have taken place back in April. However, it's being discussed now. Mike, do you care, please?
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure where to start, but it was discussed publicly. As a matter of fact, I stopped everything in the middle of the adoption of the handbook and explained that this part was being changed specifically. And make
Correct,
sure
I
that the
agree.
committee understand that. Now,
I agree.
you weren't here, but I did do that. So there was a public discussion, and it was done appropriately. And I think to justify it, I think that, and I'm not sure everybody realizes, but back in 2008 or 2009, when that was done, the township probably had 170 employees.
177.
Now we're down to 118, 119 employees, so when we go out and hire somebody, it's more important than ever that we hire a qualified person. And you're not going to get a qualified person to leave a job that gives them 2 or 3 weeks vacation to come here for 5 days. So because of our short staff, I recommended that be deleted, and the committee voted 4-0 to delete it. I wasn't here back in 2009, but it's a lot easier to hire entry-level employees when you have 2 or 3 employees in each job, which we just don't have that luxury anymore. So quite frankly, when you look at the overall expenditures, we're spending far less, millions less now than what we spent in 2009 with 170 employees, or 160, whatever there were.
Mike, I
So-
said that I had your words, when Phil sent me the email, I went on the computer, I tape recorded your words from April 7th, so I know exactly what you said. It's only a 2 or 3 minute worth of comment, not a real full-blown discussion, but be that as it may, that's what occurred at the time. I just don't, and the fact that we're spending less now, we're going to be spending even less in the future as we watch businesses close, because the people that are losing their jobs are not going to be eating in the restaurants. They're not, just heard this on the radio tonight. They're not going to be at the dry cleaner. They're not going to be in the restaurants. It's only going to get worse, and we need to be cutting back and tightening our belt every buttonhole, or what do you call it, belt buckle loop, tighten it back. We're going to have to tighten up more.
I don't
Aileen,
think there's any,
excuse me, Mr. Jacobs, we made those tough decisions in 2011.
I know, we're going to
And
have more.
believe me, they were gut-wrenching.
I think she missed those meetings.
I
too.
think you missed those meetings also, but I'm not...
But we're
I'm
going to
not-
have more.
Wait
But
a
I-
second. There's also, there's the half glass, half full, too. People still have to spend to get basics, okay? There's a concerted effort going on from the county and state level to try to help with the situation, okay? And let's face it, we're working at minimum staffing now, and the people that work in this township are doing a lot more work with less people. And we're
And less
still doing,
resources.
and we're still doing the work that's necessary. We talked about it at the last meeting. Our bond rating had increased due to a lot of the good decisions that committee made, not only in 2011, but even up to this day, okay? So I think, all the steps that we're taking here, we've got all our capital projects out on the street now. All the work is being done. So we're giving people employment opportunities when they bid on these jobs, and obviously, whether it's the road paving, the parking lot, the playgrounds, to work out at the Leapy Track, many things that are good are happening. I'm not a pessimist in terms of looking at what's going to happen. I've been here since '76. I've seen it go up, I've seen it go down. I still think that our employees are doing 1,000% of the work that they're supposed to. Don't forget, they're getting bogged down by a lot of what I call minuscule requests from Oprah requests that detract them from doing their work. So it's not the downturn in the employment that's hurting them. I think it's all the extra things that's being layered on them because of the Oprah situation. So you relieve that, and you'll see that our employees probably would even do more work. Now, the big thing that we have to do is to keep people thinking positive. And in a down economy, we don't want to preach negativism. We want to be realistic, and we want to talk about all the positive things. So I think, if you understand the discussion on 3, whether you agree with it or not, I think it's something that was voted on April the 7th or 8th, and now it's part of it.
All right.
Can I just say,
Mike.
we have a number of employees in the audience, and I don't want our employees to think that we're planning layoffs.
Nope.
It's not the case.
I
We
agree.
projected our budget out 3 years. And we look good for the next 2 years with level revenues. So I just don't want that to,
In terms of the belt tightening conversation.
yes, yeah, we're not
Agree.
planning any layoffs.
Well, belt
I'd
tightening
like
can
to,
be
add a
construed as
comment.
curbing spending.
May I
Go ahead,
may I
Rodney.
speak, Aileen?
Go ahead.
Yes, we've had, in personnel, since I'm a liaison for personnel, we had many discussions about creating incentive for people to come and work here at this township and
Stay.
and stay. You know, what happens is if you don't stay up with the current salaries and benefits, what happens is people come here for a couple years, get trained, and go elsewhere.
Correct.
For a much higher salary, and, you know, this, you know, type of employment is in need, you know, in all your communities. So, you know, our employees are looking, you know, on the daily sheets, oh, gee, I can make $20,000 more here, or $15,000 more here. They offer me a little bit better, you know, environment to work, and so on. You know, so we're not overboard. We're trying to be competitive and create loyalty. And, you know, I think I was much in favor of this change that, of the vacation days as one incentive. And so that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you.
And
Rodney?
if I just might add to that, you said that we get employees and then they potentially leave. Well, that's if we get them in the first place. If we don't have competitive policies, then we don't get them in the first place. And we made that change because we had a discussion. We've had many attempts at hiring people. We've had discussions with them. We know the kinds of things that are important, and that change was made fully aware of what it meant. And we did it because we thought it would help our competitive situation, help us get good employees. So we knew what we were doing, and we had a full discussion about it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Elaine, anything else?
No, I think that covers it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I don't remember what I did on April 7th. But it's important that the record be clear. What happened here is the 5 of you were elected on Election Day. You were sworn in on January 1st to do a duty. You came to a meeting where an agenda was posted in advance of the meeting. That item was on the agenda. It was discussed. A public hearing was available, either in the form of comments before, on a first reading, or on a hearing on an ordinance. So regardless of the length of discussion, in order for that to become the law of this community, it had to follow that course, and it did.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, there's no introduction of any ordinances. Number 7A, authorize $89,754.58 state contract purchases from the Municipal Equipment Enterprises, Monroeville, PA. One, for 2 Chevrolet Tahoe vehicles, $64,445.76. Contract number 82926. Michael?
Yes, this is part of our annual replacement schedule on our police vehicles. We, two SUVs this year and 3 sedans. I'm not sure what kind they get.
And this is all part of our planned budget.
These are in the capital.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments to the motion?
Does that include the light bars in that
No, I didn't
motion?
go to that yet.
Okay, yeah, it's good, I have a question.
I'm going to take them separately. Mrs. Anderson, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Dix?
Yes.
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Gouchard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Good. Number two emergency light equipment packages at $25,308.82, contract number 81332. Mike, I take it, go ahead. This is the light bar equipment for these?
Yes.
Aileen?
Yeah, coincidentally, last week I had, and this is probably more for Stacy, Stacy as in Tappan, or not Stacy as in Wellington. I just had complaints last week about the intensity of the lights on the police cars, police vehicles on the side of the road, that they're making it very difficult for oncoming traffic to see in the road. Are these light bars the same as the most newest ones we have, that they're that intense? Is there any way we can tone it down?
What I can say is that they're the most modern light bars that you can get, and to be honest with you, we want them to be very bright. This is the first I've heard of a complaint about them being too bright. The idea is to get your attention, to slow down, and if possible, to move over if you're on a four-lane highway. My personal feeling is I'm comfortable with the illumination that the cars have right now. I've seen them out on the street. Again, that's the first complaint that I've heard, and these are the light bars that most agencies are using.
It's just a coincidence, it just occurred last week, I think Wednesday or Thursday, and then this comes up on the agenda.
Most of the complaints that we get are if a vehicle's going to an emergency and they can't see the lights. It's very important that people can see them coming, obviously.
I think it's more when they're stopped, because you're having trouble, and it's probably more like Route 50, the two-lane, not the four-lane, because in a four-lane, you have room to move over, but in a two-lane, like Route 50 or Route 40, moving over might be difficult because of oncoming traffic, so.
So that just means they finally have to slow down on Route 50 and wait to move around it.
Well, I'm not suggesting they didn't slow down. I'm voicing the citizens' complaint.
That's the citizen's complaint for those of us who live on
Thank you,
Route 50.
Stacy. What's
Well, I
your-
don't think there's any hard evidence that says that this is an endangerment of our citizens of Hamilton Township. I think it is more of a safety issue. And so I think that, over time, we'll see if there's any statistics that bear that out, but at this point, it doesn't.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other questions or comments? Mrs. Anderson, please.
Mrs. Dix?
Yes.
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Gouchard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes?
Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. Number B, approve contract change order number 3 for Waste Management Holdings, Inc., interlocal shared service contract bid number 2010-01, reference location B, ACIT, net reduction of $2,563.44, retroactive to July 2013. Mike, any comments about that?
I'd ask Ingrid if you have any
Thanks,
questions.
Ingrid.
She can respond to them. She does this for us.
We have the interlocal agreement with ACIT for collection of their trash. We've changed the size of the containers, scaled them down a bit at ACIT. It offers them a chance to save money. And we found that we had been servicing fewer containers over time. So we went to Waste Management, and they said, sure, we'll give you a credit for that. And that's that. Just
Good.
pass through to ACIT.
Good.
Are they recycling more, which could justify smaller containers?
They have a great recycling program over at ACIT. They're very involved with it, and they increased. We did a change order, you may recall, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, and that was because of their increased enrollment. They felt that they would need more containers. So I think that they're, finding that they may not need as many as they think, and that their recycling is doing well for them.
Do we have any idea of the tonnage or percentages or anything on recycling? Are they in our list that we get a report on that?
Their recycling goes to the ACUA, so we get reported directly from the ACUA.
Okay, that's what I was kind of fishing for. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
I don't
you.
know their specific tonnage, though.
I have a question, it's just a second. I had a neighbor that put out a TV, and I went over to him and I said, I think they collect those at first, at the Public Works, But then I found out from someone else that the TVs, I don't know what happens to them.
Televisions are electronic waste, and we do have a drop-off for them at the Public Works Yard on the first Saturday
First
of the
Saturday.
month, from 9 to noon, that's my ad. We also take metal items that day and appliances, so 9 to noon, first Saturday of each month.
Okay, so
And
it
you have
does
to bring 'em there.
include the TV.
Yeah,
That's what I told
They won't
them.
be picked up at the curb.
No, it's just left at the curb, so.
So
Okay.
to stay on the agenda item, which is the change order for ACIT, I'd make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The consent agenda.
So we have 8A with the addition, I think G is supposed to say Stephen J. Cahill bid of 2,000
Correct.
through J, with J modified per the late agenda. If I'm correct on that, then I would move all of that.
Have a motion? Do I have a
I
second?
make a
Second.
motion.
Motion is second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9A, extend Samuel Velez employment as a full-time temporary labor until October the 31st, 2014, at his current salary of $15 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Aye, Mrs. Anderson.
Pardon?
I said aye because I had a mouthful of water.
Okay.
Then you have 9B on the late list.
9B, I got it. Thanks, Mrs. Anderson. Authorize advertising for a planning board administrator.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate. From what I understand, our newly hired planning board administrator has resigned. And it's a shame because she's
did a
been a
great-
great fit.
Agreed.
She kind of walked in and filled some very big shoes very quickly. And I know she's pursuing kind of a different path. So we wish her luck in that. So with that, we'll go ahead and make that motion.
Make
Second.
the motion.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10, Mr. Solicitor, other than if there's anyone, can I take all of them together except for the one where someone was absent, or should I take them all individually?
I reviewed them, and all of you were at all of them. But they have to be individually voted upon.
Pardon? Okay, individually. Okay. 10A, August the 4th, 2014, regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. B, executive session minutes, March 18, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move April 8th.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Move July 8th.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move August 5th.
Second.
And motion is second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move October 7th.
Second.
A motion is second. Any questions or
Quick
comments?
question. Mrs. Anderson, I sent you an email. There was 2 words missing on the back page. Did you get that?
No. When did you send it?
Sunday? It's innocuous to say the 2 words if I have them right here.
Plus their executive session, so we can.
It doesn't matter. It's innocuous because it's only 2 words. And it's like, same as one. Them all at time is what's on here. It would be them all at the same time. The 2 words you're adding is the same. And it's on the last page, line 2.
You're moving to amend?
Well, I guess so, because it's just,
Motion to amend on the floor.
Second.
Well,
Second.
We had a motion on the
Yeah.
floor for the minutes, so
And
I
we're
think we should,
we're amending
This
it.
is a motion to
We had
amend.
to,
it was seconded, so we should either vote it down or
Correct.
retract the motion.
I would respectfully ask you to consider retracting the motion.
I'll retract my motion.
Did
Okay.
a second.
Retract the
I
second.
have a motion
That
and a
motion is
second.
no longer on the table. Our
Okay.
motion to amend is on the table, and there was a second, was there not?
Okay, a motion and a second. Any questions or comments to the amendment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So move to adopt the amended October 7 minutes.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move October 21.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move October 29.
Second.
The motion is second. Any questions or comments to the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is opposed. Motion carries.
Move March 13.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good. Thank you. C, payroll and bills totaling $1,640,420.01.
So move.
Second.
A motion is second. Any questions or comments? Ms. Roll call, Mrs. Anderson.
Mrs. Dix?
Yes.
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Gouchard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. Reports, Mr. Administrator.
I have nothing to add to my written report.
Thank you. Mr. Solicitor.
Nothing?
Thank you. Mr. Engineer.
Sorry for the delay, Mayor, but Mr. Jacobs failed to replace the microphone at my table. I have nothing to add to my written report.
That was a hint.
Thank you. Okay,
Good, Bob.
Township Committee
We
members.
got the hat trick tonight.
Judy?
All is peaceful,
Good. It's a good thing.
so no comment.
Good. Aileen?
First, I have a question for Brett. People in Laureldale were commenting about the brush cutting, it's in your report. Is there a reason we're not using a chipper out there? That's what I was asked.
Sure.
We did or do have a chipper. I don't know if we still have a chipper, but the taxpayers were asking me about a week ago why we're not chipping up on site, because it would be, in their opinion, a more efficient way. Sorry.
It's quicker to haul it away with the new dump trailer that we bought, and less dangerous than using the chipper.
Do we still have the chipper?
Yes.
I agree on the chipper. Now that you say it, that's a reminder. People have accidents. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Brett.
The second item is, we had another wonderful AC Salutes the Military Parade, and while we lost our Bill French, Montford Point Marine, this town has two Montford Point Marines. This one's a young one. He's only 88 years old, and Colonel Schleifer's wife, Anna, got to ride in the car with us, escorting Montford Point Marine Corporal Melvin Scott, who lives here in town with his wife, and it was a wonderful parade, over 120 units, so it was quite a nice event. And that's all.
Thank you. Rodney?
Just a couple of brief items. I attended a report on 32240, Route 40 corridor study that was accomplished by the State Department of Transportation with the assistance of a contractor, and it was very interesting. They divided the area, the study extended from Cologne Avenue east to West Atlantic City. They divided up the area into, I think it was about 7 sections, and then they had 13 or so criteria, which they ranked everything. They gave the results, but they couldn't talk about what the next step would be. I guess they make their recommendations to another department. And I must say, this study just addressed pedestrians, public transportation, and biking. Apparently, this department didn't address throughput. So that's another department. It was quite clear that it's not, I don't know how good the communications are between the departments. But we were given, I was told I'd get a copy of the report, which I haven't received yet. We were given an address, a contact person to call in the, I believe it was a CDA, is that community development a contact, and I do plan to talk to them. But I also asked them, I told them about our sidewalk experience here, where we suddenly noticed that there were sidewalks being put up a few years ago, and no one was quite sure that we asked for it. Right. And I think, I didn't get a clear answer for it, but part of it may be that the process takes so long that it was years ago that they may have contacted us. So I think there really is a way to improve communications, and that's something which I'd like to look into, and all of us look into to help improve that. I just also want to mention we have a cooperative effort amongst the community and the township and the school with respect to a flag in front of the Greater Egg Harbor Regional District. The flagpole was recently repainted, and a flag was contributed, and there's going to be a ceremony, a flag raising ceremony on Thursday at 10 o'clock in front of Oakcrest, so I'd certainly like to invite everybody there. I think the mayor will be there, right? Superintendent of the schools, and others, the Veterans Advisory Board, and some of our township residents. So invite you to that. And then at 11 o'clock, another effort involving the community and the township and the VAB. One of the members of the community is painting. We have flag retirement receptacles. And the receptacle that we have behind the VAB is pretty dilapidated and not that evident. So there was an agreement. One of our residents, Frank Williams, agreed to paint, and we had one of our citizens here, I believe Bob Campbell, or was it the administration, get agreement from Waste Management to donate a container for us. So it's being painted, and it'll be a little ceremony for that behind the VFW at 11 o'clock on that same day. So I'd like to invite everybody that can make. The mayor, I think you were going to make that too? Yeah. So
That's just to put the flags into the container?
Yes,
Because
yeah, the
they
flag
don't want them,
receptacle, yeah.
I just had this conversation with the president of the auxiliary in the last 2 days, because the VFW takes certain stars, not the cemetery type flags, but they take the stars off the maybe more expensive flags. They're like stitched, and they cut them and put them in little plastic bags, and they're given to soldiers that are deploying. So before we jump to retire, they want to examine the flags for what they can take, because I have quite a number I'm going to be taking over tomorrow night.
thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
All right. At the last meeting, we had Joe Costello come and do a presentation on the OHS Welcome Wagon and the work that he and the administration were doing at Oakcrest to engage the freshman class that's coming in and get the other classes involved as well, to really try to create a positive atmosphere as they're coming into high school, attract students to Oakcrest, and also prevent them from maybe potentially going down wrong paths as they go through their high school career. Joe did a great presentation here, and I can't even say how much greater the OHS Welcome Wagon activity was in and of itself. So they selected 4 freshman class members, incoming class members throughout the township. Shepherd Bus donated, I think there was 3 or 4 buses. There were approximately kids across Oakcrest that participated, cheerleaders, the band, the football players, I mean, all the different clubs and activities. We had a local ice cream man following around in the group of cars that were going around. And we had just a number of community members. Our Mitzvah Fire Department was helping to lead it, our police officers. Just a really great community event. It was bringing so many people out from the neighborhoods when they start seeing the really bright lights rolling into the neighborhoods, and people just coming out to say, hey, what's going on? And instead of it being a house on fire or an accident, it's this really awesome and positive thing. So they did like a little mini pep rally on all the yards. The kids were excited, the parents were involved. Godfather's Pizza donated pizzas to every household that was involved, and it was just a great way for the community to kind of grab these kids and say, we're here to support you. So really phenomenal work that Oakcrest did, that Joe did, as well as
Absolutely.
the many people that were involved with it, and I was really proud to be a part of it. And in addition to that, because we had a conversation on the date and we noticed it was National Night Out, we were able to partner with Oakcrest Estates and their National Night Out efforts, and we brought the welcome wagon right into the National Night Out and really amped up what was going on there. They had a really positive event going on. Our police department was also there, showing the cars, letting the residents meet the officers. Our Mays Landing Fire Department was there, again, letting them see the fire truck, understand what the firemen do, what the police do, to have that engagement with our community and our first responders. So I just thought it was overall a great night
Was
in
great.
Hamilton Township. I know we were all at various spots, and I'm just so proud of it. Oakcrest has a number of events planned for the first week of school. It's going to be the Welcome Week, which I think is actually going to be 2 or 3 weeks. And again, wanting to get us involved, really looking to partner with us as a township and do some really great things. So it's really exciting time at Oakcrest. I'm very proud to be an alumna there. They also asked us for information for the hometown celebration flags that we did on all of our light poles. They want to not only bring them to their campus, put Oakcrest flags, but they also want to put Oakcrest flags and banners on our light poles through the town, so that we can show that strength as a community as one. So they will be purchasing some of those to go throughout the town as well. And the next couple of other things, we did partner with them. Their back-to-school night was planned for 9/11. We were able to get them to move that back-to-school night so that people could participate in our 9/11 remembrance ceremony, which I know, Mr. Mayor, you're very busy in helping to help plan. So back-to-school night is now moved, and our ceremony is going to be great because now we have kids that are volunteering to be part of that ceremony and really help it out. So positive things there. And then the most exciting for me, because I'm on the Halloween Parade Committee, we are meeting regularly. I believe there's about 72 days to go, so start thinking about your floats. 60th annual parade this year, and we have a lot of exciting things going on, and one of the things is partnering with Oakcrest High School. They are going to put all of the clubs, sports, and activities in a contest against one another to see who can put together the most exciting attraction for the Halloween parade as part of our 60th annual celebration. So again, just another really great opportunity to partner, and another awesome thing that is going to make this parade bigger and better than ever. So there's my plug for the Halloween parade. And then my final plug for tonight, and I'm hoping we're going to be done early enough to go get a bite and potentially some libations. Laureldale Pub and Grill is now open officially today. The old PJ's, the old Martha's on Route 50. We have a great local couple that opened that business, and they've put a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of effort. If you drive by, you can see it. A lot of great things. Us Laureldalians are very excited that we don't have to drive everywhere to go get a bite now, and really looking forward to it. So please support our local businesses that are opening up, and support Laureldale Pub and Grill.
Is it really open now?
It is
It's
really
tonight.
open. It
Tonight
is
is-
really
They were
open.
working there yesterday when I went by.
They have been working day and night.
That'll put Laureldale back on the map,
It
right?
will put us back on the map, man.
It hasn't been Laureldale,
Without it.
yeah.
It has not been the same.
Amy mentioned 9/11, and obviously this year we're going to have a program. It'll be at 7 p.m. at War Memorial Park. If any of you know Reverend Ash, he's quite a taskmaster in his planning and what he has planned for this evening. And each year it gets, as we move away from the actual event itself, I think we made a commitment years ago to remember and never forget. And it's one of those days that leaves an indelible mark on your memory, and many of us have different memories of that day and what we experienced. So hopefully you'll come out and enjoy this program that night. It should last about 30 minutes, maybe 35. During the week, I had the occasion, sat down with our CFO and the deputy CFO and the administrator, and sat through a very interesting hour or more when the credit reporter had called to ask a number of questions of the financial status of our community. And I can't say enough positive things about our finance office, the way they prepared themselves, the way they answered all the questions, and how meaningful this entire process was, because I think it'll probably result in our bond rating either staying the same or going up. Have you heard anything yet, Sin? Not yet. So as soon as we do, we'll promulgate that, correct? But I sat through them before when Mr. Sasdelli was here, and of course, those days it was a lot different. Today, it's not that it wasn't positive then, it's more positive today because I think of the position that we've engineered for this township so we can move ahead. So, as I know Aileen has some thoughts about the state of the economy, and I don't disagree with her, but I also feel there's the positive side of it, and that's the side that I want to continue to look at. So, with that, I'll open it up to the public. Anyone in the public wish to speak? Please. Yeah, sure. Come on.
She's
Have the
she's
mic
got a
just set
leg,
up for
she's
it.
got a cast on her leg.
We can carry it back to you,
I was
Deb.
gonna say, we can bring you the mic.
I just wanted to ask, I have a tree out in the front of my yard, and I tried calling this week and trying to find out who's supposed to remove it. The gas company, say the electric company, everybody's like giving me a different runaround. Do you know who's supposed to remove these trees that fell over on the
It
wire?
depends on where it is on the property line. Brett?
It was on the road. It was on the road, and they took it off the road and threw it on both of our properties.
They did it?
Who did?
Well, the
Electric company.
electric company first did it, and then they said Verizon was responsible for it, so I don't know who's responsible.
Yes.
They're saying they're not responsible.
What's your address there?
2320 Columbia, and then the lady across the street.
2320?
Yeah, I've been communicating with Phil Sartorio on this since,
I'll call the electric company. We have a contact there, and I'll find out.
it's pretty well
exactly.
cleaned up now,
Is
just
it?
except for, well, the yardway, the tree that fell was thrown by the electric company onto the property across the street from Debbie's, which had nothing to do with the entire incident. So when I saw the fire hazard that was presented by having all those dried leaves from the fallen tree all the way up into their yard, I notified Phil to have it checked out and let us know by the next day, giving like 2 working days to check it out, and I didn't hear back. I checked with Phil again today, which is a week later, and Brett had been there, but it wasn't the township's responsibility to clean it up, but in this ensuing week, the lady across the street has cleaned up the leafy branches, but it's the logs that are at Debbie's house.
Debbie, I'll call in the morning. We have a upfront contact there, and I'll see exactly if there's anything that they're suggesting at this point, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
would
both
say
of you.
that maybe someone would like to take them who
Get the
uses
firewood.
logs in
Yeah.
their
Could
fireplace.
be. Sir?
Yeah, they're kind of large.
How are you?
Good evening. My name is John Newsom. I'm here with my wife Renee.
Good evening.
My concern is I live in Chancellor Place Development. I moved there in 2009. Since we've been living there, we've had an issue with water. Water coming into the basement of our home. We have a sump pump there that pushes out water. The problem is we have a retention pond that sits right in back of our house. It's not draining properly. I know that there's an ordinance that says it's supposed to drain in 72 hours. We had a heavy rainstorm on Tuesday night.
It flooded 32nd Street.
If you go look in the retention pond, actually it's retention pond number 2, basin number 2, and basin number 7 off of Babcock Road, it still has standing water there. The other issue that I have is Hamilton Township Base Landing is not designated as a flood area. So the problem is when if you try to get insurance, you can't get insurance. If we were able to get insurance because of this issue with the basin, they wouldn't even give us a claim because the water is coming from underneath the ground. I know I did some research. I came down, I did some research and found out there's supposed to be an inspection every year. I'm not sure that there was an inspection done this year. The report that I read said that everything is good, but I lived there since 2009, and that every time there's a heavy rain or heavy precipitation, the water is still standing there. So what happens every time it rains and it overpowers the sump pump, we have to remediate and get repairs done to our basement. It costs us thousands of dollars. There's no way of getting relief, and I came here tonight to see if there's anything that you can do. I contacted the homeowners association, and they're saying that everything is fine, everything is okay. That's what the engineer is telling them.
Bob,
So-
have you looked at that at all? I know Brett has. Have you, Brett? Come on up, Brett. Thank you, Brett. So you can,
Come on down again.
I know that morning I had come through and I saw the basin from across at the electric company running across the road. And, you know, it was pretty well flooded, wasn't it, Brett?
Different basin.
It is.
It is the basin?
Well, it's a
Different
different
basin.
basin.
It's a different basin, but what about the other one behind his house?
I think he's talking about the basin being one off the Babcock Road.
Yeah, this is the basin that is in between, it's in between Chancellor Place and Prince.
I've seen that.
Is it by the tot lot? Is it, John, is it by the tot lot, or is it toward the back, toward Atlantic Avenue?
It's towards Atlantic Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
He's right, it does always have standing water in it, and I have seen that in the last couple of years. So maybe take a ride.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to look at it with
Would you?
Brett, but the homeowners association is responsible
Responsible.
to
Can we-
maintain the basin. So if the basin is not draining properly, it is in fact your homeowners association responsibility to maintain it.
Do we have,
An engineer coming out, and he keeps telling them that everything is okay.
fine, yeah.
What does he come out at when it
It's on
disagrees?
file in the planning and zoning office that says everything is good.
Do-
But it's not good. You can ask anybody in the neighborhood, that water stays there.
It's the same one.
And I know that there's an ordinance that says in 72 hours,
You think it's
that water's supposed to drain. And what it's doing is causing our sump pump, it's been running continuously. And as long as that water stays there, it's running, and the water's dumping into our house. And God forbid if the sump pump ever stops
Quits.
working,
Yeah.
we're gonna have the whole process all over again. But we have a lot of work going on, replacing sheet rock, getting the carpets and everything. And there's no, I mean, we can't get flood insurance.
Right,
So there's nothing we can do, we just have to keep paying every single time, so I'm trying to find a way.
to remedy it.
Let me say, if you did get flood insurance, you would
Michael.
not be covered anyway.
Can we reach out to the property manager there? And if they're issuing reports without, there's got to be some inspection. Obviously, the gentleman's correct about at least once a year doing some maintenance on it.
Yeah, I believe that I had seen one of the reports that came out from their association, but Mr. Jacobs and I have to take a look at a couple other things tomorrow morning. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll make contact with the homeowners association.
And would you leave your phone number with them so we can get back to you, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Bob, would we have any way to compel the homeowners association to do something if they seem to be being negligent?
Bob, are the maintenance bonds gone?
No, the maintenance bonds have long since expired. The only thing I can think we could do would be a property maintenance issue,
Right.
or essentially maybe a violation of the site plan, because the site plan requires the basins to drain within a certain time period.
Okay.
Do we know if we have recorded covenants and restrictions that would list the maintenance schedule like like the one for Eaglesmere list?
I can probably say with 100% certainty, Nancy Rainbow would not have allowed that
Right,
development to proceed if they had not filed their declarations
So we
of
could-
covenants and restrictions.
Well,
Question
maybe,
is, when? Some of those restrictions were initially limited to 10 years,
Right,
but the obligation to maintain it is always the associations. And if there are similar folks situated as you folks are, you should band together and get counsel.
Yeah,
Ultimately, if nobody does anything, you have standing, we may not,
Yeah.
to sue the condo association to make them do what they're supposed to do. That's the ultimate remedy.
Bob, my comment about covenants and restrictions wasn't focusing on the word restriction. It was that the maintenance schedule might be in that recorded instrument in the county clerk's office, but they may have received a copy of it when they bought their home.
I'm sure it's in every title policy that issued
absolutely.
for every unit.
Bob, would you see what you can find out so we can at least communicate with the gentleman and so he has a direction he can go in?
We'll take a look at it tomorrow.
All right?
Thank
If you
you.
leave your phone number, sir, we'll make sure. Go ahead, Mr.
Campbell.
Thanks for coming
Yeah,
and
well-
bringing that to our attention, too. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Bob Campbell. First of all, let me say that we owe a great big thanks to Nicole Scribner of the Veterans Advisory Board, who had a display. She used her own car, and we decorated it. Hamilton Township was well represented. In the parade, there were 260,000 people on the boardwalk.
Yeah, maybe
That's
next
nice.
time, can you guys let us know?
Did you get any
that-
pictures you can sort of like?
I didn't get any pictures of
Maybe
Nicole
we
because
can
she
get 'em
was.
on- we could get 'em on the
They kind
website.
of shoved her and the Veterans Advisory Board, like there was 151 or 131 displays. I think she was 121.
Yeah.
But don't worry, the Fleet Reserve Association was 115. So we
Oh, you
were
were
in the
close.
back with her as well. But the township was well represented. The Fleet Reserve had a vintage Rolls-Royce convertible with the Navy veterans. I never had so many women throw kisses at me in my life. Of course, we were all in uniform. It was really terrific. And so the Veterans Advisory Board, Township of Hamilton, was well represented.
Good.
We didn't see too many people from Mays Landing on the boardwalk. I saw a few, but not that many. And we should, excuse me, maybe announcement a couple of times ahead of time for people to go down and see that parade. I mean, there were admirals and generals and the Coast Guard band. Oak Crest High School was right with us, and they played. They were terrific. I think they were the best band. We were listening to all the practices, and they were really good. So Hamilton Township, right on. I'd like to thank Ingrid, Mr. Jacobs, all the people in the township for supporting the new flag retirement bin that we're going to have, and we're going to dedicate it. The painting was done for free. The bucket was donated for free. So it didn't cost the township anything except a few cans of paint, which I think Mr. Jacobs made arrangements for. We thank you for that. Wait till you see it. It's terrific. If anybody knows Glenn Battinger,
Yes, I
Major
know him,
Glenn
the
Battinger.
Major.
Well, Glenn Battinger's mother lives in Horizons across the street from me, and she called me on the phone about a month and a half ago and says, I took my flags over to properly dispose them. My son told me what to do and so forth. And she says, go over and look at it. It's a mess. And I did. We went over and looked at it. Nicole looked at it. The Veterans Advisory Board looked at it. And it was a mess. So we called the VFW and says, if the township will do this, will you allow it to be there? And the VFW said, we're happy to do it. So it's going to be a nice thing, and people in the township are going to know now, when you have a flag that is tattered, dirty, or whatever, don't throw it in a can, bring it over to the VFW. You can drive right around behind, they'll open up the lid and put your flag in there. The Boy Scouts of Mays Landing will be properly retiring our disposable flags. So we do want to thank everybody, and especially from the township, for helping us to get that ready, and I think you'll be very, very pleased when you see it. The other thing I wanted to tell you was that you all know that there's over 500 of our people here in Hamilton Township that are going to lose their jobs.
We know
From
that.
the
Almost
casinos.
700.
It was in the
Okay.
paper today.
Supposedly, from what I understand, from Local 54 and a couple of other unions, there's some hurting people. And they need help. So I know the Fleet Reserve and some of the veterans organizations are going to try to do for Hamilton Township, and we'll be discussing it with you, both through the Veterans Advisory Board and the veterans organizations. We'll be discussing the possibility of holding a job fair for any veterans that are working at the casinos. We'll be having a job fair, hopefully getting some positions through the veterans community for veterans who are losing their jobs. and we might be able to help in a little bit, but that's being planned now as much as possible. Wednesday night at 6:30 in front of the Showboat Casino, there will be a walk on the boardwalk by quite a few people for the purpose of having a prayer session. They're going to be praying for help and praying for the people to support them. Immediately after that, they're going to walk right across the street to the church on Atlantic Avenue, and there's going to be a very large prayer rally for those people that believe in God and believe that maybe we need some divine help to help us a little bit, help the people that are losing their jobs. It's just a damn shame, and anything that I think we can do for those people that are going to lose their jobs, it's going to help our township if we can help, as well as everybody in the county. So if Mayor, if you can get down there, one of the township committee can get down there, you'll be well accepted. There's going to be a lot of priests, rabbis, and ministers there and leading the prayers, and it should be very, very good. So again, that's all I have, but I do, again, want to thank all the people from the township. Brett has helped us with the flags, and the township has really come to bat for these veterans' purposes. And we do thank you very much.
Good to hear, Bob. Thank you for your comments.
I agree,
Bob, I have a question for you. You were talking about Mrs. Batchinger. Is Major Batchinger away?
Major Batchinger has been transferred to Africa.
Okay, because he was at the parade last year, and I missed him this year, so I suspected he was away.
He is in Africa right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Batchinger is suffering from a very severe back injury, but her two Eagle Scout grandsons will be hopefully bringing her over. She's the one that called. She got it rolling. It just proves once again, an individual in the township, if you can get up just like this gentleman here, can get up and say, I got a problem, can you help? I know that there's hundreds of people in our township that are willing, the volunteers of the township as well as the township committee and the professionals of the township are always willing to help if it's a good cause.
Hey, Bob.
Sometimes even if it's not a good cause, but we're there.
Bob, in your job fair, maybe consider having some recruiters there as well, because like my brother, for instance, he's 24. He and his girlfriend will both be getting laid off and losing their home and going through all of that. So there's quite a few of his age and younger even who are bartenders, servers, things like that, that will be losing, and I know that's something he's considering, so.
The American Legion has a statewide program. It's run by past Commander Bob Luby, and what he has been doing is he's been going around to different parts of the state in helping, originally just helping veterans if they needed it, to different parts of the states, and he's been very successful. The American Legion has placed, in my understanding, approximately 500 veterans throughout the state in jobs. Most of them were Iraqi and Afghanistani veterans. Of course, us old guys, we don't need the help as much as the young kids. So just remember that 22 young men and women a day are committing suicide, veterans. And we've opened up 17 new suicide prevention centers through the VA system. Some of the things that are happening with the VA are very, very good. And with some of the new rules that are being laid out, it's very, very good. There are some complications about, I have been asked by Atlantic Care to provide information. We had a meeting with the executives of Atlantic Care last week. And they are planning to have on-site hospital care for the veterans. And we're working out the details to make sure that the veterans' funding will be there from the VA, particularly with the new $17 billion that have been presented by the federal government and passed by the legislature. So yes, we're going to have a lot of people there. If we can do this, Bob Luby told me he's going to try to work it out with us, and so they can come to Atlantic County specifically to try to help the veterans who have lost their jobs through all this activity, but they'll help anybody. And if you got skills, there'll be a lot of people there, federal government people as well, particularly from NAFAC and so forth. So I'm very proud to say my son's brother-in-law, who was a colonel, United States Air Force, Iraqi fighter pilot and weapons officer, and he was a commander of 2 bases, one in Hawaii and one in England. And he is now being discharged, and we just got him a job. And he's the happiest colonel in the state of New Jersey because he's going to be working for the veterans. So anything we can do in veterans, just give us a call and we'll help you anytime. Thanks again.
Thank you,
and
Bob.
We'll see you Thursday, and
Thank you.
everybody's invited to come. And by the way, John Keenan is a terrific young man.
He's doing an awesome job.
He is unbelievable what this
He's the
guy
new
is doing.
superintendent of the Greater Egg, for those of you who don't know, but he's really
John
doing
Keenan
great.
is the new superintendent of Greater Egg Harbor School, and he is a terrific guy. And by the way, Bobby, Mr. Aiken is doing a great job himself with his school board stuff.
In Hamilton Township.
In Hamilton
K-3.
Township.
Let's keep
So
the board
thanks
straight.
again.
Thanks, Bob. Anyone else?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
Oh, Anna's on her way up.
Put your sneakers on and jump. Oh, you got them on. I was going to say, got to jump up faster.
I'm used to standing here and singing with the mic. Good evening, my name's Anna Schleifer, and there's something I want to say. I watched the video, whatever you want to call it, from last meeting, and there's something about myself. There's been a time that I've asked my husband, I'm thinking about running for office, and there's something for politics or whatever. I'm not much of a political person, but there's times when I see things and I think things should be made right, and I feel like I should have a voice to speak out. But my husband said something real interesting. He said, now, if you're going to do that, you need to be prepared to be attacked, to be hated, to be the most hated person, because you're going to speak out what you believe. And so with that being said, Eileen, I just want you to know that you're one real tough cookie, because there's been several times I've come to this meeting and I've had people come up here and speak about you, and I realize there's been a situation that's been going on and all that. Okay, fine. Let's deal with it. Let's move on. You guys, we voted for you, and it's part of what my husband said. You know, you got to roll with the punches and take it and move on, and no room for offenses or anything like that. But there was something that was said last week, and I needed to speak out about it because I felt like you were accused of something that I thought was wrong, and it had to do with so petty. I thought, oh my goodness, this is being brought up. But I felt I should. It had to do with Brownie Square. And I thought, oh my goodness, that you were telling elderly people not to go to Brownie Square because Chris is a Democrat. I'm at Brownie Square all the time. And to be quite honest, y'all can just probably blame me because I'm the one that invited Eileen to go to a secret super supper club one night, and she discovered this amazing dinner that Chris puts out at his business. All right, fine. Now, the reason I took her, and this is what I want to get at, is I took her because my husband and I, when we moved here 10 years ago, we're not from New Jersey. I'm a Texas girl, and married a Minnesota boy, and here we are in New Jersey. But I'm a military wife as well, and so I'm used to being alone, to living alone and having to tough it out and go through things. And I'm a great judge of character of a person. And since I've lived here, when I moved here, it was in the winter, people in New Jersey disappear. It's like no one's around. Come spring, they show up. There's actually people in New Jersey because they pop out. But there was something about an individual that took time to get to know me and was there for me. And like I said, characters and actions speak louder than words. And Eileen, you were an individual that made sure I was okay. Who are you? Do you need anything? Can I do anything for you? And as a military wife, and I've spoken at the memorial services, one time they asked me to talk about military families. And that's something about us. We need sometimes when our husbands are gone, or vice versa, the wife is gone, the husband, we need help. We need someone to let us know. And I'm new to New Jersey. I didn't know how things work out. And if something was needed, I tell you what, this woman, you're like a walking encyclopedia. You know your history. You know about, I know I can call Eileen and she's going to tell me. And the thing about the elderly, which was so offensive to me, is that you guys don't know this because she's not going to talk about it. People don't brag about themselves. She doesn't brag about herself. But we talked about Bill French, who is a Montford Point Marine, and he and his wife live out in the woods somewhere in what you would call Route 50, hidden in the woods, and this woman has taken time to go visit them. And Bill loved you. I mean, I hadn't been to his home. John and I, when we met him 2 years ago, we started to kind of head out there. We were in their home, and I'm not kidding you, Bill looked at you like a daughter, because there is a wall. If you've ever been to visit Bill French, and maybe you could visit her because she's a widow now, he had a wall to Eileen Dix. In fact, there's still a sign on the window for her because he loved her so much, and that's just who she is. It's her character. And so I just couldn't sit back and hear people trash her about the elderly. I'm a conservative. I mean, she's never told me to go there. And there's I'm not elderly, so anyway. But there is an elderly man that's a neighbor of mine named Ed. He's up there in the years, barely walks, gets to the bakery. They're good friends. And then I want to straighten one other comment. Someone made a comment about being free. It is free. Chris opens it to everybody. He does two things there. But there's a jar there to give a donation. And this woman gave $10. I know she's not going to tell you that, but for people to accuse you of that, I'm sorry, I couldn't keep quiet. But I do want you to know that the reason I took her to Secret Super Club was because that John and I felt it was a little pricey, but it was worth it. But we wanted to treat someone that has really touched our lives, and we've treated a few people like that, and you were one of them. And I just wanted to stand up for you because you really do care about this, about Hamilton Township. And some people, we're all different. That's the thing. Eileen is different. She has passion. She shows it. And she loves, I think one time I was sitting here, you made a comment about, I'm passionate about, and people were mocking you. What's so funny about that? I don't know about you, but I'm glad someone has a passion about the place I live in. And one last thing, and here's another thing she did. Over on the street over by Wheaton Factory, someone had torn down, or I don't know what had happened to the 30-mile-per-hour sign. And if you come down, you're coming down from Vineland or whatever, and you take that street, I don't know what that road is called, but there's that parking lot. Police sit there waiting for speeders, and they're doing their job. But if you're driving like I am, and I'm daydreaming, and I'm used to catching that sign was missing. It had been missing for a long, long time. Kept driving, it says it's going to slow down, but you could be going down and get caught at the end if there's a policeman there. And that wouldn't have been fair to the drivers. So I didn't know who else to call. I called Eileen. I said, what do I do? She goes, I'll take care of it. Within a week, that sign was up. So I'm just saying she helps out. I don't know what the situation is. And, my husband and I are ordained ministers. There's a word called forgiveness. And forgiveness brings healing. And I think we need to have healing in our township. We really do. Because a house divided against itself will not stand. And this is not a time for us to be divided and be fighting with each other. And that's all I have to say about that.
Anyone else in the public? Good.
Well, I don't have quite so much to say. However, I did appreciate, that was very good. And I totally agree. We're all children of God. We're all here for the same purpose, and we need to love one another, not be divided against one another, ganging up on each other, resenting one another because we have a different take on something. We need to all love one another. But anyway, getting to what I wanted to say, I wanted to revisit the police car, the lights on the police car. I really do believe that those bright lights are a public safety problem. Several times in the past few months, I've been driving at night, coming down the Black Horse Pike, a police car on the side, and those pulsing bright lights so bright, they're reflecting off the road. And until you get right up to him, you can't tell if that car is off the road safely or partially in your lane. And when you have a lot of traffic coming up alongside of you, you can't just pull over to get away from that cop car. You have to wait until you're right up to him. Everybody slows down because everybody in front of me, just like me, they're so scared. They can't tell if that car is actually partially out in the road, because sometimes they really actually do park their police cars partially in the road for their own protection. And another point I wanted to make with that was that I have several members of my family that have epilepsy, seizure disorder. And there are certain things that can bring on a grand mal seizure very quickly, and those pulsing lights are one of them. Turning lights, like in a disco with the disco ball, is one thing.
Strobe lights do it.
Strobe lights.
I have an epileptic son.
Okay, and these pulsing bright lights could actually cause a person to have a grand mal seizure because of those bright pulsing lights. I was out the past couple of years with my granddaughter, taking her around trick-or-treating, and she saw those strobe lights and those pulsing lights, people, they decorate. I had to throw my coat over her head and carry her down the street because she was on the verge of a seizure. Someone driving at night with those pulsing bright lights could actually end up having a grand mal seizure in the car, and I just really think they're way too bright and way too pulsing. And I've been driving for 52 years. And before they came out with all these really bright lights, I never once in my whole entire life missed seeing a police car on the side of the road with the old-fashioned lights on. So I just wanted to give my opinion. I really don't think they're all that necessary to have them so bright and so imposing. And I really do think they could be a public safety hazard. Thank you. My name is Sandra Nelson. I live here in Mays Landing. This is my first time here. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for your comments. Anyone else in the public?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Do we have a motion?
Move to adjourn to executive.
Correct.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Motion is second.
Well,
All
hold
those
on.
in favor?
Aye.
Joan has to read her thing.
Read it, Joan. Maybe we'll
Are you coming, are you going to open up again, Roger?
She don't understand.
Will you be coming back?
No action, I don't think.
Be it resolved by the
Ingrid,
Township-
don't leave. Go ahead, Joan, just read it into the record.
Be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton that this meeting be adjourned to an executive session to discuss contract.
Collective bargaining.
Please, she's trying to read something. Would you go out in the lobby? Thank you.
To discuss collective bargaining agreements, which is exempt from public discussion pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law. Be it further resolved that the governing body will not reconvene in public session because no action is expected to result from the discussions at this time. Be it further resolved that the results of said executive session shall be made known as soon as the basis for confidentiality is no longer confidential. Okay, Amy, you made the motion and Rodney seconded?
Yeah.
Yes, all those in
Got a
favor?
vote?
Aye.
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 Okay, we'll stay in this room. Would everyone else please, we're going to have our meeting in here. It's an executive